Let me text Cesar, see if he'll be joining. I'm sure the rain adds a nice little ambient noise, considering we're talking about the God of Thunder today.
Oh.
Couldn't have planned it any better. Yeah, Jim Steranko always looks like he is leaving, or he just left like a Vegas residency to go to a comic convention. That's what he always looks like to me. And he's always like the freshest, the flyest looking dude there.
It's like one of those cigarettes on the little stick. You expect him to have one of those.
Yeah, but have either of you ever like talked to him or met him in person?
No, I've just heard stories and seen him.
Yeah. Heard he punched Bob Kane in the face.
I've also heard he's like slapped. I think he's also like slapped Stan Lee in the face before, or something like that. Just double checking. He won't be joining today, right? Sorry.
Back when you could get away with that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there was no camera phone to prove it. Okay, so I don't know if I want to share this now or later. I guess I can. All right, I'll share it as our warm up icebreaker. So Ashley I told you on Saturday that I wasn't going to go to the show on Sunday. I was planning on like waking up, heading out, hitting the road, and driving. Well, Sunday I woke up and then I started already feeling like FOMO, like, damn, maybe I should go to the convention, like just for a little bit. And then I started thinking about how at the art auction, they did like that kind of, is that a bag of chips?
Sorry, I was getting it out of the way.
All good. Well, on Saturday when they had the art auction, there was like that moment of silence they wanted us to have for them to like list off all of the comic legends and writers, artists, and folks that we lost right in like the previous couple years.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about it. It got me thinking about like, man, we've lost a lot of comic legends in this last year alone, right? Like we lost George Perez, we lost Neil Adams. Some of the names that they mentioned, I kind of, unfortunately kind of like forgot. I felt bad. Like I forgot Denny O'Neil passed away, I think a year or two ago. And all those, it was actually, you remember, it was a long list of names. It was like, wow, this is important, but it is kind of a bummer right now, like it is a lot of names in the middle of this like really fun, high-spirited, drunken art auction. But it got me thinking of like, well, what artists are here today? What artists showed up for the convention that, maybe I need to go meet and, thank them in person and give them the flowers while they're still around. And it got me thinking about Jim Steranko, who always has an epic setup. Like he's got a full table, not just a little table, but like 3, 4, 5, like a section. He's got like a whole section. He's got like the tallest fucking banners, and it's it's his art style, right? It's like I think his banner this year was like Nick Fury fighting Captain America, and it's like Jim Steranko, and his line is always long. But I decided on Sunday morning I had picked up a Foom magazine, which is an old 70s Marvel magazine that he helped.
Marvel fan magazine. Yeah,
which he helped. Oh man, how do I turn off the text sounds on my phone? All right. Anyways, so he helped like kind of edit those. He helped create them, and he was like designer on a few of those those early Foom magazines, and I really like them. And I found one for a good price, and I said, you know what? I'll leave for HeroesCon. I'll go to HeroesCon for a little bit. I'll meet Jim Steranko, get him to sign it, get to meet him, and go on my way. So I go very early Sunday morning. That was the first thing I went to. I like skipped breakfast, got some coffee, and just went straight there as soon as the doors opened. Went to Jim Steranko's line. I was like the second person there, and then I found out it was $50 to get a signature, and it was cash only. Like if it was card, I might have done it. But it was cash only. None of the handlers knew where the ATM was. And he was already having a really long conversation with one guy, like also had the same idea, but he had a short box full of comics to get signed. So he was there for a minute, and Jim Steranko is a talker. Like he makes you feel special. Like he makes it feel like an experience. So I almost have second doubts. I like kind of walk around a little bit, and I'm thinking like, do I want to go pull cash out? Do I want to pay the ATM fee? Do I want to like maybe I should just get on the road? I can't even take a picture. He wasn't, no pictures were allowed. So I was like, what am I doing? But then I had the Foom in my hand. I was like, you know what? let me just go back. Because even the handler's like, oh, what do you got there? Oh, wow, that's really badass. Like, I'm sure he'll remember that. Because when you flip through it, there was a picture of a young Jim Steranko, and they took it to show him. They were like, man, look, who's this young guy here? And, he was laughing. And I was like, okay, let me go back in line. So I was now like the 5th or 6th person in line. Something that should have taken 30 minutes was now like a 2-hour endeavor. But eventually, I finally got to Jim Steranko. I decided that I wasn't going to pay money to get the signature. I was just going to meet him. I said, you know what? It just doesn't have to be, like a money thing or a signature thing. I just want to meet him. I just want to meet him, shake his hand, thank him for like what he's done for comics and, being among my favorite like designers and, like legends in the game. So I finally get to him. I shake his hand. He's one of these guys that gives like an old school stern handshake.
Iron hand.
Good fucking handshake. Like the double hand. Like he holds your hand straight, looked me like
Power move.
yeah, looked me in the eye. Yeah, dude, I was like, I cannot back down. I've got to show dominance, right? So, and he's dressed fly. Like he's got like the suit jacket. He's got a black turtleneck, super dope,
Chain?
like aviators.
Chain?
Chain, super nice watch.
Oh,
He looked like
man.
James Bond at a comic convention. Like James Bond just left the Vegas Strip.
I just keep thinking. I know probably didn't. I'm just thinking his handlers are like all like either like women like in cocktail dresses, like cocktail waitresses or in like Playboy bunny outfits.
Yeah, basically, man. Yeah, he was. Yeah, so yeah, he was. I said, hey, man, I had to come see the flyest dressed dude in comics before I left, and we had a full on. I mean, it was like a 15. It was like at least a 20-minute conversation.
Oh, wow.
It was a 20-minute conversation. We didn't even get to the Foom magazine. He was telling me stories about like arguing about Stan Lee, arguing with Stan Lee to get like his just dues, what he deserved, right? Like talking about Jack Kirby, and he was like, Jack Kirby never took any shit except for when it came to Stan Lee. He was like, there's a relationship with him and Stan Lee that made him kind of like soft. It was his friend or whatnot. So we talked about that. We talked about like he was telling me about him meeting Miles Davis because I had brought up like artists and how they put their soul into the bodies of work, and he's also one of these guys that like I call it like the old guy, the old guy moves where he was putting his hand on my chest to like kind of like bit points across, would put his hand on my shoulder, and occasionally he'd even pull me in, like he'd grab me by the shoulder and pull me in to do the like whisper in my ear. He was just a very like I don't know, man, like very just engaging individual. Like just looked me in the eye the whole time and like it was like he was working a show. He even got like the guy next to me involved in some of the convo, and I was kind of like, all right, this guy doesn't need to hop into this conversation. It's a you and me thing.
Why does this guy have a panel? It's so entertaining.
I've been to a Jim Steranko panel, and it's 99% Jim Steranko talking, and then 1% the host asking maybe a question. The guy can just tell stories. So it was awesome. He even showed me like some Nick Fury artwork that he did 2 weeks ago. The guy is still fucking sharp as hell. This Nick Fury like print he showed me was amazing, and he challenged me to really study the piece. And he was like, "What do you notice that's different about this?" And the difference was that, and I was like, "Oh shit, I got to do a fucking like review right on the
my
spot."
God.
Like I was nervous as fuck. And the guy next to me kind of stole my thunder. He was like, "Well, it's the eye patch is on the left and not on the right."
Oh.
And Jim was like, "Yes, it's," and he really went into like this deep meaning of like this was a portrait of Nick Fury staring into the mirror and facing his demons and seeing like the true version of himself that no other person in comics has ever. It was like really fucking deep, and he kept saying things like, "I know you understand what I mean," And I think at some point he maybe thought I was an artist because I had an artist alley badge is what the con gave me. So he just
that's
kept
totally what it is.
So he kept talking to me like I knew these things. He was like, I know you know what I mean.
This could be you one day, kid. You keep at it. You could be doing coke with Miles Davis in the back of the.
Well, the thing about Miles Davis, he put his hand like right dead center of my like knife hand. He was like, Miles Davis wouldn't let you get this close to him. That was his aura. He was just so cool you couldn't get close to him. It was like a wild conversation. Long story short, I shake his hand a few times, like thinking it was wrapping up, but I really didn't want the convo to wrap up. It was just like how open he was and how honest. Because I had mentioned like his upbringing, like he had a very hard upbringing, and I could tell when I brought that up and him sharing the stories of like getting beat up by these like gangs and learning how to fight. Like at one point he was like, I'd go to school every morning and I'd get my ass kicked, but eventually they stopped fucking with me because I took care of it. It was like this dude was fucking sharp, and and we wrap up the interaction. I shake his hand. I thank him once again. Hey, man, thank you so much. I hope to see you at future conventions. He pulls me in, grabs me by the shoulder. No. At first, he holds my hand really tight, looks me dead in the eye. I couldn't tell if it was like the tint of his glasses or if he was like just getting watery-eyed. But he said, I want... He's kind of like my grandma. He said, I want to see you next year. I want you to come back next year. And I want you to come back and come see me, all right?
You give me your word, you son of a bitch. You'll be here next year.
It was like a very beautiful, like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah. I was like, of course.
I'm surprised they weren't, like, usually the handlers are usually trying to rush people off after a certain amount of time.
I think they realized there was no telling Jim Steranko what to do.
Oh, my God, that's awesome.
Because they just let us talk for hours. And I was like, this is why his line is so fucking long. Like, he's having, like, these extensive, like, church sessions with everyone. But right before I could leave, he grabs my shoulder, pulls me in super close, and now like his face is on the side of my face, and he whispers in my ear, and he's like, "Promise me one thing. You'll continue to keep your body in great shape, because I want you to look around at all these motherfuckers who have let themselves go.
My
Don't let that be you. I kid you not. I kid you not."
Oh my God!
You see that fat Batman over there? Neil Adams would never draw Batman like that. That's
awesome.
Hilarious.
It was awesome. I immediately just dropped to the floor and did 50 push-ups for him. Just boom. Here you go, Jim. For you, buddy.
The one with the claps in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, man. And I'm not saying I'm like in
That's
the greatest shape.
I'm sure.
But I don't know. I was like, damn, I appreciate you noticing that.
For comic convention standards, Badr, you're pretty good shape.
I was like, I wonder if maybe that's why he kept like poking my chest.
Yeah,
maybe he was like making sure.
He's like a football coach, like feeling your arms. Work out, son?
Oh, shit. And I couldn't do anything but tell him, like, I think I said something mad corny or stupid. I was like, Jim, you understand. You got to keep your mind and your body strong. I said some stupid, dumb Bruce Lee-esque bullshit. But it was awesome. It was one of the best interactions I've ever had with a comic legend.
Oh, he would have talked to me for 3 seconds.
Oh, man.
Like, this fat fuck. Another fat fuck in my line. Oh, jeez. Listen, kid.
It's just how slow and how, like, just...
I can hear your heart beating from here.
He was saying, I want you to take a look around. And all these fat fucks who have let themselves go. I was like, Jesus Christ, Jim. These people are paying you money.
Wow. Oh, my God. That's awesome.
Okay. And that is my story.
I got to get in shape if I want to meet him now.
No, for sure. You got to, you buy a Bowflex. It was awesome. Ashley, and I saw you. You walked by Jim Steranko's booth. I was still in line, and I tried to like wave or holler at you, but I didn't want to like draw too much attention. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let Ashley be. I'm trying to get out of here. So I wish I could have found you immediately and told you. Like, it was one of those stories. As soon as I got done, I pulled out my phone, had to dust off the voice memo app, and I just took notes. I was like, he called me strong. He said Jack Kirby was soft. Miles Davis won't let you touch him. All this stuff. So, anyways, Ashley, I want to hear your HeroesCon story, maybe for champion season, if you don't mind highlighting some of the major highlights for yourself.
Yeah, nothing like that, though, man. Jeez. Glad I'm not following
Fat
that.
shaman, Jim Steranko.
That is so funny.
Wow.
It doesn't surprise me. It
awesome.
just cracks me
Not
up.
at all. Not at all. I get it. All right, let's go ahead and get this show officially started. And, I'm actually going to bring in the intro music right here, all right?
Present to you the Short Box Podcast.
The Short Box Podcast is recorded live from Jacksonville, Florida.
Actually, I guess I should have told you about a new machine that lets me have like all these sound bumps. So
Very nice. Very nice.
all right. You short. Oh, hold up. Did that one the wrong way. You short box nation. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 362, and today we're getting ourselves ready for the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder movie by talking about one of the most visceral adversaries the blonde-haired, blue-eyed god of thunder has ever faced alone, and one of his most epic adventures ever told in comics. The story I'm talking about is Thor the God Butcher, and it can be found in the first 5 issues of writer Jason Aaron and artist Esad Ribic's 2013 masterclass comic series, Thor God of Thunder. And if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Short Box Nation. You are now part of the best comic podcast in the 616. My name is Badr Milligan, and I'm joined by more of the Short Box crew today. In the studio with me is Edmund Danzart. His dad's name is Mr. Danzart, so call him the Edbot 5000. What up, Ed?
Wow. Okay. Hey.
Your dad's name is Mr. Edbot. No, terrible. I'm still getting warmed up. All right, All right, and calling in on mic number 2 is the most humble published comic artist you'll ever meet. We got Ashley Laney Hoy on the mic. What up, Ashley? How you doing?
I'm good.
Ashley, you recovered from HeroesCon yet? How was your steps that whole weekend?
Oh, God. They were crazy. I'm still tired, honestly. I don't know if I'm recovered. Because I was walking from the hotel to HeroesCon, walking around, and then walking back. But
me and Drew decided to risk our ankles and mainly just livelihood, right, by riding those fucking scooters. We rode our scooters from our Airbnb to the convention, which was like a 5-minute ride on the scooter, but it felt like the most stressful 5-minute ride considering we had to like go on the actual road. But we made it in one piece, no bones broken, and we didn't have to pay too much for taxis.
it was stressful for us, too, because we were waiting for you, knowing you were on scooters heading towards us. We were all like, oh, God, I hope they make it.
Yeah, you're like, if he's not here in the next 10 minutes, we get a search party to find
Were
him.
the scooters part of the Airbnb?
No, it was one of them. Dude, I didn't know that scooters you could just fucking park them in apartment complexes, in ditches and rivers. Like, I think their scooters just had range, dude. Like, our Airbnb was maybe a 7-minute drive to the convention center. It was in a residential area. So we would just like look on the map where the nearest scooter was, and it was like in shady apartment complex A. Here in this ditch by this dead body, So we just went and found him. It was like Pokemon. We were like playing Pokemon, like Pokemon Go.
What a strange business model.
Yeah.
People just leave them, and then whoever gets them next gets them next.
Whoever wants it can get this one.
Wow.
So it worked out in our favor. Anyways, since we're on introductions, I want to share 2 announcements with the Short Box Nation that I think might be of interest to them. All right. First up, we've gotten into the figurine business. That's how hard times have been lately. We are now getting into selling figurines, specifically the 3D printed minifig business by way of our good friend Kyle Schmezik. He's the owner of Triple D Mystic. It's an awesome 3D printing company that he runs. He's helped us in creating a very limited run of Mighty Thor figurines to coincide with the new Thor movie. We've got them for sale on our store. There's only 25 of them. I'm going to hold this one up to the camera for our patrons tuning in via video. There you go. Oh, look at that. Jane Foster as Thor, Mighty Thor. You see that, Ashley? I think, Ashley, this might be your first time looking at this one.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. He did a great job on this. Really great job. So we've got 25 of them. We're going to put them on our store for sale. The good news is we'll be doing a giveaway for one of them later on in the show. So either use the store link in our bio to purchase one, or stay tuned to the rest of the show when we explain the giveaway. Regardless, judging by how badassy things came out to be, I don't think they'll last for long. So get yourself one while supplies last, whether that be via buying one, which might be your best bet, or the giveaway that I'll announce later on. Second housekeeping item is, if you're new to the show, you may not know we have a Patreon, which is where our diehard fans and Shortbox community go to get bonus episodes, exclusive content like video podcasts, as well as vote on topics for the show like this one. We just posted some great bonus podcast episodes the last 2 weeks. One is a review episode dedicated to our favorite episodes of the Young Justice cartoon series, and the other one is audio from my HeroesCon panel of comic legends Charles Vess and Mouse Guard creator David Peterson talking about world building and fantasy comics. So if you're in the mood to hear us yap on even more about comic books and comic book cartoons, do me a favor, grab your phone or computer and go to patreon.com/theshortbox, or just click the link in this episode's show notes and sign up to join the rest of the Shortbox community.
You spend all day on the phone anyhow.
Should have bumped that one up. Hold up.
You spend all day on the phone anyhow.
Our guy from Everest knows exactly what the deal is, right? Thank you, random Everest guy who will live in internet fame for the rest of his life. All right, with shameless plugs out the way,
we've got things to talk about.
Oh my God!
Just like trust me, Ed. I bought this new machine just for the extended sound pad library. All right, I've got them all queued up and ready to go. Cesar's lucky he's not here today. He is very lucky he's not here today because I got a few for him that I can't wait to use on him. Anyways, back to this episode. Just like 99% of all of our Comic Spotlight episodes, the subject for this segment was selected by our Patreon community. The other candidates for this Thor Spotlight included the Mighty Thor, a.k.a. Jane Foster, as Thor, her first solo series, which was also written by Jason Aaron and Russell Dodderman, or art by Russell Dodderman. And then we also had 2004's Thor series by J. Michael Straczynski and Oliver Coipel. God Butcher won 67% of the votes. That's why we're here. And I mean, Ed, are you surprised by that, considering the options?
I'm not surprised just because he's in the upcoming movie. That helps a lot, but yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well said. Yeah. I had a feeling. Not only that, but this is like one of those comics that when it dropped, or when it came out, I think it was instantly kind of heralded as like a classic. Like it was just really well loved and well praised. And of course, this comic, The God Butcher, has such a big influence on the upcoming movie. I think it makes sense. So it's not hard to imagine why this comic would win over the others, considering the praise it's gotten to this day, almost 10 years later. And also check out how badass the solicitation is. So this is for anyone that's never read The God Butcher and just needs kind of like a high-level introduction. The solicitation reads, "The God Butcher saga finds Thor following in the bloody wake of murdered gods. This same bloody trail leads him to a bleak future where he unites with different versions of himself from different eras to come face-to-face with Gorr, the God Butcher, who is a galactic killer seeking the extinction of all gods." Like Ed said, Gorr will be making his live-action debut in the Thor movie, portrayed by Christian Bale, of all people. Bale hasn't been in a superhero movie since The Dark Knight Rises, but the prospect of working with the director, Taika Waititi, brought him over to the Marvel Universe. So I'm counting that as a win for all of us Marvel fans, all right? Ashley, were you familiar with this series prior to us recording today?
Yeah. When I was getting back into comics, back into comic shops and adding things to my pull list, this was one of the first things that I put on there. And I think just the fact that it was one of the first things I got back into reading, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I thought all comics were this good. So I was a little sorely disappointed after that. But I'll never forget how amazing this was when I read it, issue by issue when it was coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when this dropped, to me, it became an instant classic to me. This is one of those titles that you always hear people bring up. I think when you mention, hey, what's Thor? For me, I guess personally speaking, when I hear someone wants to get into Thor, I'll definitely point them here to I guess to any of Jason Aaron's Thor run, whether it be God Butcher or God Bomb or the stuff he did with Jane Foster, which was epic as hell too. Ed, what about you? Were you familiar with this?
Nope.
Oh, this is brand new to you.
Yeah, I didn't read it. I was familiar with Esad Ribic. Ribic.
I said Ribic like he was a fucking frog. Sorry.
He pronounces it Esad Ribic because he's Croatian and he talks like that too, which is awesome.
Good to know.
But I saw images and things, but I never read it because I think I was kind of not into the superhero stuff as much then. I can't quite remember. That's the Marvel Now era, so I was just kind of tired of relaunches, reboots. I'm just I've had enough of this stuff, so I kind of ignored that till later.
And I have is it safe to assume did this sit well for you? Did you like it? Because I feel like this has got the makings of everything you love in a comic.
I honestly was not looking forward to reading this because I was never a big Thor guy, and I don't really care for the name is kind of seemed silly to me when I heard it the first time. It was like a metal band, like a bad metal band name. Thor the God Butcher. And then I saw him and he's jacked Voldemort in the Goblin Queen's outfit. He's got the symbiote symbiote Speedo on and a cape. I'm this guy's
It's a
whack.
C-string. Do you know what a C-string is?
What's a C-string?
Oh, you're going to have to Google it later.
I know the alphabet. I didn't know it went down to C. Is there A string and B?
C-string for men, yeah. You're welcome.
Oh, C-string. Okay. Yeah, they did have some back shots. It's man, this thing is all right, barely there. But I didn't really like the look. the art is great. I'm not saying he's not well drawn, but I just didn't like the design, overall design. That's just a aesthetic thing.
All right. So I was 100% wrong that this was not up Ed's alley.
No,
at all.
but I read the story. The story surprised me because I love how they did the kind of time jumps, and they kind of covered a lot of their, plot holes with, just with some of the dialogue about not remembering things when you're going through time, and how did he not remember this, and all those kind of things. But I like the story. I like how it kind of started as almost like a detective, like a murder mystery type of thing, where he's going and seeing all these, and they cover up why nobody was reporting this or nobody knew about it. So I think they covered all those bases. But yeah, I thought the story was really good. I like Jason Aaron, so I know he's gonna write a good story, and he's just like a 5-tool player. That guy can write anything, from like crime to like fantasy, high fantasy stuff to superhero.
Throw him into any genre, he's gonna succeed.
It's crazy. He did Star Wars. I mean, I don't know what this guy can't do.
And you brought up you brought up how this you brought up the Marvel Now relaunch, which was around, this series came out of that Marvel Now relaunch in 2012. I think Marvel Now was between 2012 and 2015, ran for 3 years.
For the Secret Wars, I think.
Yeah. And I remember buying, I was in the midst of collecting. I think I might have even been working at the comic shop myself, kind of like picking up all the different titles. But in retrospect, that, Marvel Now had some really solid titles with some like really incredible, a creative team. And I think a lot of the writers that, very popular writers today, Hickman, Aaron, Rick Remender, were all on Marvel's list of, we're on Marvel's staff at that time. Marvel had a very stacked list of creative teams, but specifically writers. I was looking at some of the titles that came out from Marvel Now. You had Charles Soule and Mad Joe on Inhumans. You also got the Iron Fist by Carl Andrews. He was writing and drawing it. That came out during that time. One of my favorite just B cuts, which was a Elektra series that came out of that Marvel Now relaunch by Mike Del Mundo. He did all the interior art. It is amazing. That's also Marvel Now also gave us the Moon Knight series by Warren Ellis and Declan Shelby, which we covered a few episodes ago. Marvel Now also gave us the very highly praised Silver Surfer series by Dan Slott and Mike Allred. Jonathan Hickman was continuing his story in New Avengers around that time, and you had Rick Remender doing Uncanny Avengers. So Marvel Now, I know I was reading a lot of those titles I just named, loving it. I guess retroactively I didn't really think about how much quality Marvel's putting out around that time.
Yeah, I'm guessing I didn't really get into it until I guess it would be the second or third wave with Moon Knight and Silver Surfer. So I always kind of forget that was part of that Marvel Now imprint.
Yeah. Ashley, how did God Butcher sit with you? I mean, because this is your second time reading it, right? Did you enjoy it anymore? Did you pick up on anything?
Yeah, because I read it when it first came out, so it's been a long time. There's a lot of stuff that I forgot about, but it was, I don't know, just Thor. Ed, I never realized you weren't a Thor guy, but there's something just about the fantasy, the high fantasy aspect of it that I just love so much. And when he was in that room with that library and that little fairy librarian guy, it just gave me Lord of the Rings vibes, and it just made me happy. Every page just made me happy.
Yeah, he really Aaron, really leaned into the whole, mythology, a lot of fantasy elements, but to add to your point too, because I had this written down, I enjoyed the infusion of different genres, right? A murder mystery, but also time travel taking place within this very fantasy heavy story. I thought was really refreshing. Super refreshing. And I wanted to talk about some of the themes and topics explored. I'm going to list off a couple that I had listed down, and if you guys want to join in. But I think at the very top I wrote a deicide, which is kind of a new phrase for me, right? Deicide, the act of killing a divine being or a symbolic substitute of such a being. I mean, the whole,
the whole 80s metal band, so that's how I got familiar with that term. I was like, deicide, okay. That's brutal.
That's pretty badass. Reading Gore, I mean, Gore is all about it, right? He's, the whole plot of the God Butcher story arc relies on, follows Gore murdering gods across the cosmos and whatnot.
And Gore has a legit gripe, I gotta say.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you know,
He took it a little far. Let's say he went a little too far with it, but he's got legit beef with the gods.
Yeah.
And their lack of doing anything.
he took it to the extreme. He went from like 0 to 110. You know,
It's that
for sure.
symbiote because it's part of like the symbiote null
Yeah.
weird
Well,
stuff.
and that whole, you know, Gore's association with like Venom and the symbiote and like, you know, this new age villain.
Ironically,
no,
it's like
that only happened like recently. That was kind of
is
like
that a recent thing?
Yeah, that
Okay.
wasn't a part of. I think in Jason Aaron's run, Gore doesn't really outside of like the visual elements of that suit or that necro sword he's got being very symbiotic and symbiotic in nature. He doesn't tie it like Null was only created recently. I think.
Yeah,
It was Donny Cates. Yeah, Donny Cates is the one that created him in his Venom story arc. So they were able to make that work, and you know I don't mind that at all. But I was going to go back and say, as far as like other themes and topics, you know, we got deicide. I've got, you know, they touch on religion a lot, you know, and with that they also talk about faith and devotion, worship. Gore is like the walking embodiment of nihilism, in my opinion. You know, you got the murder mystery aspect, time travel. You're also following Thor like dealing with PTSD, which I thought was a very interesting topic too, right? Like Thor, you really get a sense of like how old Thor is. Like he is centuries years old, and he's been through so much. And I think at one point, you know, he talks about like, you know, I forgot the first maiden I've ever kissed, or I forgot the first frost giant I've ever killed. Like all of this stuff starts blending together, and you forget people. And that's what sucks about being immortal, is that like you outlive so many people. But the one thing I'll never forget is meeting Gore for the first time. And I thought that added a lot of weight to like just how vicious and dangerous Gore is.
And he was tortured for how many years? Like hundreds of years or something crazy in the cave.
That might be a little hyperbole, because I think he lasted like 17 days. Like Gore had tortured him for like 17, 18 days before that crew of Vikings came and rescued him. Was there any other topics or themes that you guys caught on to or picked up on?
I mean, definitely
Yeah, that's
the worship, because all those Vikings were like, we're going to go in there and die for Thor.
Yeah.
There was like no
And Gore's
fear. They
like-
were just like, that's just what we're going to do today, guys.
Yeah. What about you?
As far as themes, I think you covered most of the things, but it's just like, you know, me being, I guess, agnostic, where I'm not really religious, but I don't want to close the door on that part. You know, it's kind of, you know, just his motives as a villain, you kind of understand, because it's like, there's a cool line that he does is like, there's the gods that do harm and the gods that do nothing, and I don't know which one I hate worse, which ones I hate worse. And I think that is a great line and a great, you know, motivation. And him becoming like, when his wife is this the same story? I read the first two, but
Yeah.
when his wife calls him a god, that's God bomb. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think we probably got to preface that too for the listeners out there. Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic's like, how do you say it again?
it's Ribic.
Ribic.
Yeah.
Esad Ribic, Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic, their Thor series, I think, ran for the first 11 issues of the 2013 Thor series. The first 5 were considered God Butcher, and then the last half was God Bomb. But it's all
I
really
got the trade, so
Got it,
both
got
of
it.
them are in together.
And really, that's the way to read it. We only went with God Butcher because it was shorter, and I think they're going to. Grant, I think the movie's going to borrow from both, but really, it's one whole story. So it's kind of unfair to be talking about just half of it. But bear with us; we'll probably touch on some of the God Bomb as well.
Yeah,
but,
and you don't get the origin till the 6th issue.
and that's what I'll say is. I forgot that you really need to read this as a whole thing to get Gore's like backstory and motives
Motivations,
and you know why he's doing it. Because in these first 5 issues, you're really just seeing like him, like the aftermath. Like he is on a killing rampage. He's killing all of the gods across the cosmos, regardless of what religion, what alien race they belong to, all because of like, you know, a traumatic incident that he experienced where he lost complete faith in gods and, you know, has this boiling rage and
Yeah,
anger.
and he just stumbles on it by the way the story's set up. He stumbles on it by accident because he answers that prayer for rain, and then they're saying, "Oh yeah, the
Are you
gods-"
talking Thor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the guys, "Oh, the gods, that's just like kids' stories and stuff," and he gets mad, and that's when that sets him on this journey because he's been killing gods this whole time.
Yeah, Thor's
according
like,
to the
wait,
story.
how many gods are missing?
Yeah.
No one's asked for these guys?
It's like, and then the librarian's like, well, gods come and go. That's the nature of these things. They kind of come and go, and everything's separate. No one keeps tabs on these things.
I think the other interesting aspect of what Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic were able to do is tell this story in 3 separate time frames, right? Like, it's being told from the perspective of young Thor and his first encounter with Gorr, a very young Gorr who's running a solo operation of killing all these gods as he can, and then you've got present day Thor who is finding out that Gorr is still alive, that he's still doing the same thing, and he's killed even more gods than before, and he's solving this mystery. And then you've got a future angle where it's King Thor, a much older Thor who is pretty much like, it seems like the last survivor of Earth, if not Asgard. I think that part takes part in Asgard. And he's kind of like in this weird version of like a repetitive loop of hell where, Gorr has, pretty much kept them isolated to his throne room, and his berserker creatures are constantly attacking him. Kind of like a very twisted version of Ragnarok where, he's constantly having to fight and battle. And right before he gets killed or gets to, enjoy the sweet taste of like death and leaving this plane.
Finally get to go to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Nope.
They pull back, like they stop, and he's got to heal and go through it again. So eventually the story kind of all meets together, and Thor gets to meet, his younger self and his future self and his present self, and it, goes from there. But I thought they balanced that really well. I don't think at any point I was too confused or lost. And I know, like, we talked about how in Sarah, that, at least for me personally, that was one point that was a little difficult where it wasn't always clear at what point was the story being told.
They made sure to put the timestamps up, before when the changes.
That's right.
So.
Present day Thor, in big old letters too.
Okay.
Present day
okay.
Thor at that. Ed, do you mind talking about the creative team? Tell us a little bit about like career highlights of Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic and where we know them from.
Esad Ribic from Zagreb, Croatia. And he talks like that. It's so awesome. I listened to like a little quick 2-minute interview. But like I said, he's been in comics. He was a professional commercial illustrator in Croatia because, like I said, from that interview, he said he couldn't really make a living doing comics, but he wanted to do comics. So surprisingly, he started in, I think, 96. He worked for a small publisher called Antarctic Press, which if you're not familiar, they're at least what I consider kind of like the American manga, like Ben Dunn and a lot of the American guys who were drawing in that manga style before we got the real deal coming in, So they were kind of the early adapters of that Japanese influence in American comics. So that's kind of what I've always pictured it, because he's kind of the main guy for that company. But he wasn't drawing manga stuff back then. He was kind of doing the same, his similar style. So, he's been working in comics since 96 and almost, did a little fill-in stuff and a couple things for Vertigo, but he's been pretty much nearly exclusive for Marvel since 2000.
I think currently right now he's working on like an Eternal series.
Yeah, and like I said, he did a miniseries in 2018 for Image as far as like creator and stuff, and I think he was going to do some Metabaron stuff with Jodorowsky in 2015, but that got canceled, so I'm not sure how much of that he actually did, but like I said, he's been with Marvel for 22 years, pretty consistently. And he's done a lot of cover work. Like I said, I like it when they put colorists to kind of fit his style, because he has kind of a very kind of ethereal, like watercolor images. It's kind of like what you see in the first few issues, but the colors are a little more muted. But like I said, it's he's a fantastic artist, and like I said, he's been doing this for a long time. And another fun fact, or at least what he says, is he doesn't do sketches or thumbnails.
Oh wow!
He's like, I figured it out on page. He's super like no bullshit Eastern European. Like, it's like they tell me to do a sketch, and I just do it for a trade. I didn't have any sketch to give them.
Damn.
He's like, I just did, okay, I'll sketch some bullshit for you. Here you go.
He comes from that, like, I don't have any resources to waste. Why would I waste paper?
Yeah, he's super. And I think he does, and depending on who the colorist is, it's like a lot of times you can almost see like it's the pencil lines and things and the hatching with the pencil, because, coloring process is a lot more forgiving and a lot more flexible now, so he can do things like that. But yeah, he's a really good artist, and really, like I said, no BS. He just kind of does it, puts it in front of him, gets it done, onto the next thing. He doesn't use his photo references or anything like that. He's just all in his head. Yeah. So he's like, I'll figure it out when I work on it. That's, I don't do all this other stuff. He's like, it's like I could see that in that kind of that blue collar. It's like, this is time wasting, So, and like I said, he's got the chops to do that. But moving on to Jason Aaron from Alabama, we're going across the world. Like I said, he's been writing, I think since 2001. He won like a Marvel contest, like a talent search for an 8-page Wolverine story that they published. And like I said, he did and like as far as DC, he did he just did what they call like a blind submission. Just here you go, for the other side, his Vietnam story, and they published it, and he was nominated for an Eisner, right off the bat. So he's
effortless,
coming out on fire. But then Scalped is, I think, what, at least for me, that's kind of what put him on the map. Like that.
That's the first time I heard his name.
Yeah, that long run, and it's probably the most opposite type of story you can get from God Butcher. It's like he's doing crime,
based on in the
Native
American,
Native American reservation.
Real grounded stuff.
Yeah, but like I said, he's been working pretty much. Like I said, he signed an exclusive deal with Marvel in 2008, but I don't know what that means because he's doing all this other stuff. He does Southern Bastards. He did he did that Men of Wrath miniseries. The God Damned, if you want some more God religious stuff. Which is the same creative team as Scalped. So it's the same artist that he worked with Scalped. So, but yeah, like I said, he's probably one of the most versatile writers out there right now. And like I said, Southern Bastards. We've championed that a million times on the show. I
forget Jason Aaron is from Alabama, so
Jasper.
So it makes sense, why Southern Bastards was so believable. Like he grew up around like that Southern football kind of culture. So okay, cool, good stuff. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. Ed, I got an idea. One day when we are like old and crusty and no longer doing the show, I think you should sell. I feel like your notebooks that you always bring in for the show, like all the handwritten notes would make such a good just artifact, a short box.
Could make those Patreon exclusives if you want. Send some pics up.
Start ripping pages out. All right, this one's going for $15, highest level tier. Actually, what did you think about the creative team? And maybe specifically the art.
I mean, the art was absolutely fantastic. It just had that look where every panel looked like a painting. And I think some of my favorite, because Gore, the fact that he was almost naked made it creepier to me. It if a guy's coming at you in full armor, you've seen it a million times. If a guy's coming at you wearing what Gore is wearing, you're a little bit unsettled.
You're like, I don't want your.
Is that part of his strategy when you fight a god? Just come up there naked.
And it doesn't show, but he's definitely got baby oil on. He's half
he's
naked
oiled up.
with baby oil though.
So that first giant panel where he's fighting young Thor, and you see him, they're fighting in the sky, and he's kind of above him, and you get a full look at him. He creeps me out. So I think whoever came up with that, the character design, I think he did a really good job. I mean, I love every little piece of the art in this book. I have no complaints.
I'm glad you mentioned, I had the same note that everything feels like it's a Renaissance painting. Like how some really good Renaissance paintings just tell you a whole story in one picture. And it's, that type of art where you could just look at and you're like, yeah, I've got to sit here for a minute. I've really got to sit in here and look at every detail and take everything in. I think that's how good Ribic's artwork is in this, and approach to his composition. It's it just feels and it's definitely, I think, amplified by his choice of medium. I think, Ed, you said it's watercolor. You like watercolor paint?
Yep.
It gives it a very it fits the theme. Not only is it heavy on the fantasy but it also his choice of colors and some of the, I don't know, is he the colorist in this too?
He's not the colorist in this, but they get someone who kind of mimics what
Okay.
his style is
I'll have
like.
to
Like I
put
said, he's done his covers. I think he does the color for.
Okay. I'll have to put up I'll
But
pull up the colors.
It's very similar, but like I was saying earlier, it's like the palette's a lot more muted because it is.
Thank you, yeah.
Like watercolor, and it's a lot of layers, so it'll get kind of muddy. Watercolor gets kind of muddy once you start adding more and more layers.
Yeah,
and
everything's very drab. You know, like it keeps you in that, like it keeps you on your toes. It keeps like that tension.
There's like an ethereal, kind of almost like a
Yeah.
film over it. You know, like it's through a mist or something like that.
Yeah, well said. I agree right there. And Gore to me, like aside from looking like Voldemort, but he also looks like Frieza too. Like Frieza from Dragon Ball Z and Gore had a baby that was into like bikinis at a young age. That would be fucking Gore.
Oh man, the mankini.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it feels like you're looking at someone that like has studied or appreciates like fine art, not just comic art, but fine art. And that's what's so great about Esad Ribic is that he always brings that like very like traditional, classic, like European art style to it. And I love the scale too. Actually, you brought up like whenever Thor is in the library, I love how tiny he is compared to everything else. Like, and he uses. Oh, by the way, did you catch that? He uses his hammer as like a flashlight, which is like great. Like, he's doing like nighttime reading with Mjolnir in hand. It's like illuminating. But like the books are huge. Like he's literally standing in the books to read. And then when he finds like the other gods, like they are ginormous. Like he is the size of like their head. And I think that scale shows you like, you know, not only gives you like a better sense of the scale of the story. Like it's you know, far reaching. It's you know, Gore is killing gods across the cosmos. I think
And it's like a world building thing.
Yeah,
too, where
yeah.
everything's not like human scale. There's
Yeah.
like different scales.
but it also gives Gore a even increased sense of threat, where it's like, holy shit, this guy is taking out like behemoths, like giant mountain-sized, you know, creatures and gods. Which I got to give, you know, Esad Ribic a lot of credit on that character design. All of his gods look very unique and, you know, very strange is what I'll say. And then as far as, and I'll add some remarks to Jason Aaron, but I feel like Jason Aaron Jason Aaron has become to Thor in the last, I'll say like 10 years, what the Simonsons were to Thor before that. Like he was the next, I think, to take the baton and run with it and like make a name for Thor. You know, like when we think, I think in the last 10 years, I think when you think Thor, you think this run, you think Jane Foster, you think, you know, Goddess of Thunder. Like he has crafted a saga.
Yeah, he definitely brought him to the forefront. That, and of course the movies was Thor. Even, you know, me, it's like I always thought him as like, okay, he's in the group. He's a guy in the group. But I never really, outside of the Simonson stuff and things like that, I never really, in the Beta Ray Bill stuff, I never really enjoyed it as a character on his own. It wasn't as interesting to me as he was when he's in a group, as like a member of a group.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you guys think about? What about Thor in this case? Like, is this a different Thor that you've read before? Was there anything in particular about the characterization of Thor that like stood out to you guys?
Not really because I mean, you kind of got all three Thors. You got like the young Thor who, and I love the panel where he's trying to pull Mjolnir and he like still hasn't gotten it yet. And he's like, it's like the sword in the stone type thing where he's trying to get it to move. So you've got like the young brash
He's
Thor.
just drinking and fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, the fun Thor.
Fun Thor.
And then you've got
Save me some ale.
like the Thor that, you know, it's more like movie Thor where he's kind of got it together. And then like old man Thor, who's just awesome and just like battle worn and has seen
tired
some
of it.
things. Yeah.
I feel you, old Thor.
I love that. And let's put some respect on old Thor's name. It's King Thor.
King
you
Thor.
peasants, all right?
Sorry, old
But
Thor.
I love that King Thor. I love that old Thor. I love that King Thor's got the destroyer. Like one of
That's
his
pretty
arms
awesome.
is a
Yeah.
destroyer arm. Total badass. Total
Yeah.
badass. And actually, that's a fantastic point. That we are seeing the story told through three different lenses, you know, in a non-linear fashion. But I think when you get to the second half of the bigger story, God Bomb, and you get to see all three of them together, it's even more fun to see that interaction between like, you know, like imagine meeting like a younger version of yourself and then your future self. Like imagine that conversation you could have with one another and like it becoming very meta. Jason Aaron like was able to juggle so many different voices in perspective with one character too, right? Like he really like stretched Thor thin, and you got to see a wide encompassing range.
Yeah, and Ribic is like cool because you can tell it's the same character, but they're completely different looking as far as even their physiques.
Yeah,
I know he's got like, but you can see the older guy being like a little bulkier, heavier, and then the skinny young Thor, and then in the middle, just right Thor, I guess.
He's baby bear Thor. Yeah. All right, and then what about Gore? Because Ed, you mentioned that the kind of, I won't say empathy, but understanding you can have for his character and like his motives.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that a lot of people love to bring up when it comes about villains. The best villains you kind of relate to. You understand their perspective.
Anyone who's had any crisis of faith, no matter what their religion is or denomination is, they've asked those questions.
Yeah,
where were you at? But you've done nothing. Where it's a relatable, I guess, motive. For a villain, and then I think the best villains are the ones who think they're doing the right thing, because when the Vikings are attacking him, he's like, "What do you want to deal with this God bullshit?"
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying. It's like, and then basically that motivates him. It's like, okay, I got to step up my game. I got to,
these fucking blind followers.
Yeah, it's like, okay, everybody sucks. Fuck all you.
Yeah. I thought that was an interesting perspective, or an interesting thing about his character was that his bloodlust is originally, at least, was specifically designated for gods. Like he wasn't going to kill those Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't even think he really fought back. He was kind of perplexed. Like
he was like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah, he doesn't care about you. None of the gods care about you. And he's kind of like just baffled by their blind loyalty.
And he's chained up and like helpless, and you're still believing him. It's like
right before Thor cut his fucking arm off. That was such a badass panel. Young Thor slicing Gore's arm off and just having a nice like full page spread. I can imagine like Esad Ribic was just having a lot of fun with
Is this a Thor thing where he just doesn't go for the head? Like he did it. He did it. He's like Thor.
You think Jason Aaron got that
right
from
in
here?
the face? I don't know.
Yeah.
He just needs to start hitting people in the face and killing them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Letting these fools live.
That's a good point. And just in case, because I don't know if we went into full detail, but Gore's whole motivation for anyone listening is, and Ed, maybe you can clarify because you actually read the issue, was that he lost his wife and son due to a drought on his planet.
Well, he lost his parents first.
Parents, got it.
Then he lost his wife and son.
Oh, okay.
And then he's like, "What the?" It's like, and basically he was living kind of like a nomadic people. They're on this like really desert, barren planet, and they're eating like fungus and they're whatever is left. I forgot exactly, but so
one of those planets that you'd be mad at God too. You'd be like,
"Yeah." He's like, "My parents died. My like wife and his wife died in like an avalanche or some kind of something, the earth swallowed her or something like that. And then his son just died because there was nothing to eat or drink. There's no water. It even says it's like, I have no water left in my body to even cry over my son.
Damn.
And then he buried his son and they're like, "Oh no, we got to put him up because the gods will take him." He's like, "The gods ain't done shit." And then he gets stoned and kicked out of his group. So yeah, he's got a reason. He's got a pretty good reason. His whole life is suffering. So his whole life he's just known nothing but suffering. And he puts it all squarely blamed on the gods not doing anything or being apathetic.
Yeah, so actually try to walk in his shoes before you judge him, okay? Jeez.
And it affected his fashion choices. I'm sure all that trauma.
If the gods invented clothes, I don't want no part of it.
I came from a hot planet, guys. I'm just wearing a Speedo and a cape.
God damn it, Gore. You're in modern day Russia. Put on a fucking clothes. I guess maybe that necro sword he's got, by the way, is
he may
badass.
be a fan of the Goblin Queen, Madeline Pryor. He may have read that issue. He was like, "You know what? I like this.
You're right.
I like what
You're
she's
right.
wearing. Let me do this."
His weapon of choice is badass because he can create any weapon he wants. And I feel like I don't know. I mean, I'm not an artist, so maybe you guys can speak to it. Does that make it more difficult or more fun to be able to play around with like a weapon that can change shifts, or is it
Fun.
like a pain? Okay, it's more fun. Got it.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
Put on
sure.
the same damn thing over and over again.
Right. And
Oh god, I didn't put enough rivets in this. Asshole's gonna call me out on it.
because let me think. He uses it primarily as a sword, so it lives up to the whole necro sword name. He uses it as a cloak. He uses it as a chain.
Speedo.
It's a speedo, of course.
Or
I
a
gotta
C-string?
forget that.
What is it?
C-string,
B-string? C-string? C-string.
C-string. We'll look that up. And if a C-string is tantalizing enough, it might be the photo for the episode.
Oh god.
But yeah, that cloak and that necro sword is awesome, and I can see why someone like Donny Cates would look at it,
It's a C-string, you're right.
later on. And do you need bleach? You need eye bleach?
Oh my god. Well, I just saw the garment by itself. I didn't
Okay,
see
got it.
anyone wearing it.
In
but-
action. But I can see why someone like Donny Cates would, look at Gore and that necro sword and, be able to tie it seamlessly.
I like
into,
this sword. I'm going to make it bigger.
Yeah, basically.
And the whole story is going to be based around it.
Yeah. All right. Were there any characters, issues, panels, pages, or anything in particular that resonated with you? Or maybe a panel. Actually, let me ask that a question. Let me ask that again. On the topic of art, was there a panel or page that you feel is worthy of being blown up into a print and hanging on your wall? Was there anything was there any particular page or panel that really comes to mind or stuck with you?
Ooh.
When they were
Well,
at
that changes my answer.
is it Cronus? Where were they? That like
Oh,
Yeah, Cronus.
Cronus.
the God
The
Club
time
hangout?
gods.
Yes, the libraries.
pool of blood?
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
the
So, geez,
giant pool of
Ashley.
blood. Just the giant. Some of those giant
Stark.
library
me
scenes
see.
were just they're just so epic looking. They would just be perfect as
Yeah,
a
even
giant
the-
poster.
Yeah, even though I was going to say I don't know if I'd have this as a poster, but the first time he sees the gods hanging on meat hooks.
Oh, yeah. I got it right here. I
It's
saved
like,
that one.
Oof. I mean, I wouldn't hang that up, but
It'd be pretty
maybe
metal
if I had
of
like
you.
a walk-in, it would be metal. If I had a walk-in freezer, I'd have that.
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass. I wonder if we're gonna get this scene in the movie.
I was expecting more butchery stuff. He's more of a torturer. That's the only butcher-like thing he did.
Yeah.
Have like a apron on. He definitely needs an apron.
Actually, I had the same. I saved one of the panels where the library scene is cool because just of like how massive it is and how tiny Thor looks. I have the panel where Thor is reading a library book with Mjolnir as a flashlight saved. I might make this like my background because it's just like so cute. It's like look how buff Thor is reading a book. Even you could read a book, you lousy slouch.
And that librarian was like, "There's no meat here. What are you doing at the library?
I liked
Idiot,
him.
you dumb jock. Get out of here." Since
Okay.
when do you read?
The other, one in particular that I saved, that I made note of, and I was like, man, this would be such a badass print or poster, and just kind of like, electrified my eyeballs, for lack of a better term, is when you first meet King Thor in the future, and, he's on that desolate Asgardian throne room, and the berserker creatures, the little henchmen for Gore start attacking him in droves. And he finally decides to get off his chair, and he's like, you could tell like he's done this 1,000 times, but he ain't no wuss, he ain't no punk. He's King Thor. He's gonna go into it with his all, and he charges at them full might, and you just see King Thor from the back, and then
that's a cool shot.
it's him holding Mjolnir with the destroyer arm. He's got his cape. Lightning is like striking at the same time, and it's thousands of berserkers, like just a sea of black. It's so badass. I could just hear I could hear some like AC/DC playing or some crazy shit going on.
Oh, you need heavier stuff than that.
Give me something, Ed. What do I need to be playing in this scene right
Oh
here?
my god, let's you know what? Let's pull up some Deicide just because it fits the theme.
Yeah. All right. Done deal. All right. Moving on
Some
from.
Slayer, yeah, some South of Heaven Slayer.
What
yeah.
about Molly Hatchet? Only because I'm thinking about that
my
Frazetta cover.
God, it does not match.
Oh man.
Molly Hatchet's a southern rock band.
You mean they have all these? Molly Hatchet's got a sweet. Molly Hatchet's the one with the Frazetta
Yeah,
cover,
with the
right?
Death Dealer cover. Yeah, I don't know. It
And
doesn't
it doesn't
fit.
match.
Not at all.
Oh, what the fuck?
No, they're southern rock like Leonard Skinner.
Holy shit! Ashley, is Thor hanging
It
out in your
is
backyard?
literally like my entire house turned pitch black, and it is just.
Oh, did it flood over by you
thundering.
guys? the other day? Did it?
Just a little bit, like streets. Like I got
Oh.
a bunch of water in my car, so it sloshes now.
Ew.
But yeah,
it didn't
that
mess up
sucks.
your engine or anything, did it?
I don't think so. It's still running. But like right now, it is
okay.
literally like it's cracking out there. It's crazy sounding. Is it picking up on the
Yeah, that's what-
microphone?
Yeah, at first
Yeah.
I thought it was like your AC or something, but no, that's King Thor. Like, look, if you ever call me old Thor again, I'll come down from the skies and whoop your ass.
No, it's just my bag of chips I have over here.
Thunder chips, that's what you get. All right, moving on from the comic, let's talk about the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder movie. I'm pretty excited for it. You know, I rewatched Ragnarok, I think, at least 2 times in just this year alone. It's just been on TV so many times. Taika Waititi can do no wrong, and I'm looking forward to what he does with what appears to be like maybe his last ride, but it definitely has been advertised, or it feels like this might be Chris Hemsworth's last ride as Thor. You know, we've talked about here on this show that I feel like they're setting up a new crop of Avengers, like new faces for the MCU, and it looks like Natalie Portman's going to probably be taking over as Thor, especially since she'll be such an integral role in this movie. But if that is, of course, that's speculation. We haven't seen the movie. But if that is the case, let's have a little fun. If that is the case, and this is Chris Hemsworth's last ride as Thor before Natalie Portman takes over, and they go in whatever direction they go. Let's say that you were given the creative reins to take over Thor and the franchise of Thor. Where are you going to take it? Whether that be a TV series, a spinoff, a prequel, or wherever else you want to go. How do you handle Thor, the franchise, going forward without Chris Hemsworth? Ashley, I'm going to go to you first.
Okay, so my pitch is old man Thor movies where he's kind of like he's still King Thor, but he's sort of in retirement from fighting, and then some kind of like John Wick thing happens to him that brings him back in. And I just want a movie like that. Like old Thor is so cool. Like I'm fine if it's Chris Hemsworth. I'm fine. Maybe Chris Hemsworth will come back if he doesn't have to be so like active. You know what I mean? Like just sit on the throne and act.
Gonna be jacked all the time.
Yeah.
Like, can I eat as many
Can I have a
donuts as I
card,
want?
please? Sucks.
Ashley, do you know what animal? I have an idea. If I may jump on this with you,
Yeah.
I think the way to get old Thor out of retirement would be one of his goats. I think, what is it, Gnasher?
Isn't it Tooth Gnasher
What
and
is
Tooth
that?
Grinder or
Tooth Gnasher.
something? Yeah.
Imagine if one of them was wrongfully murdered or like just brutally murdered. I think that would get him out of
Yeah.
retirement.
And then
That's
someone's
true.
like, "You killed his goat.
I think they come back to
You
life.
brought this upon us."
So you'd have to kidnap it. Because
Yeah,
they
you're
do
right.
come back to life, so you'd have to kidnap one of his goats, and then he'd have to. So it'd be like those Liam
Send
Neeson
him like a-
movies. Taken.
Taken. I have a specific set of skills. Can call down lightning.
Yeah, I'm down for that
Oh,
too.
man.
Wow. I'm okay.
I just want to go and thank the weather for giving us the right
Yeah,
ambient
some nice
noise in the back.
ambience.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Thank you
Well-
so much. It wasn't even planned.
Well, I got 3 words for you guys.
Hit it.
Beta Ray Bill.
Ooh, yeah.
Beta Ray Bill.
It was right in
and
front of me the whole time.
Jane Foster, and since he's going to be CGI Nightmare, Keith David as Beta Ray Bill.
Dude,
Ooh, like that, huh?
damn, man. I don't even want to go up next. That's solid.
I want Beta
said
Ray Bill.
CGI Nightmare.
We've teased him in the Ragnarok, right?
the statue,
In the
yeah.
statue. I want to see him with like Stormbreaker. I don't. However you get to Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
But Jane
It's time.
Foster needs a little help being the new Thor. Let's get some Beta Ray Bill in there.
Not only that, but the MCU could use more like aliens, like just kind of wild looking
Yeah.
aliens. Like everyone is like too good looking, like too kind of
Yeah.
humanoid. Just have a fucking horse, like a horse.
Oh.
He's like part horse,
Horse face
part-
killer.
Yeah, the hidden member of the Wu-Tang Clan. Nah, bring in Beta Ray Bill. All right, my idea was a TV, like a Disney Plus series, and it would revolve around a young Thor and Loki. Because they're always talking about like them as kids and like the bond they had when they were younger and all the mischief they would get into. Like, I think they could lean into that. They've already hinted at it. It wouldn't be a wild thing to just like make a show out of. You could follow them as like they're learning to become Asgardian royalty. You could like really lean in and highlight some other members of Asgard, other parts of Asgard, even like more of like the 9 realms. Like I imagine they've went on adventures across like Jotunheim and all these other places. Like just show it, and then you can also like maybe have like the Warriors 3 show up as like their fucking nannies or something, you know. And then you can also explore like the love interest between, or the love story between young Thor and like Lady Sif. I think would be pretty interesting too. I think that'd make for a cool Disney Plus series. But it's still not as badass as having fucking Keith David voice Badr Bale. That would be awesome. Awesome. All right. Do you guys have any thoughts on like the look of live action Gore being portrayed by Christian Bale or Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor? Any thoughts on that? Did you?
I kind of like the way he looks. I'm not, and I've read some theories that the more he uses the power, like the more weird he's gonna look. So he kind of starts off looking like, you know, Kratos. And
That image you posted on Instagram, that shit was funny. And it also had me thinking like, damn, Christian Bale, if he like beefed up big time, he could play a good Kratos.
yeah, like I said, I kind of like that look even more than the comic. I know a lot of people want him to look like Voldemort and stuff, but I kind of like, he's too big an actor to hide that face. He's not going to hide his face.
No, not at all.
But I think it's going to be the more he uses this power, however because I don't think they can even, I know it was like kind of added later, but I don't think they can do the symbiote kind of connection because of the Sony thing. But I think the more he uses his power, the more he will probably end up looking like the comic book characters. Like a theory.
Paler and paler.
But yeah, and Jane Foster looks comic book spot
Dude,
on.
Natalie Portman had, I think
Yeah,
Jim
Natalie
Steranko
Portman,
would
yeah.
definitely pull Natalie Portman in.
Look at all these fat fucks.
Jim Steranko would definitely put Natalie Portman in. Like, keep it up. Like, you look awesome. Like, yo, she looks tough. I forgot that we haven't seen Natalie Portman since the second Thor movie. She had a brief cameo in Ragnarok, but for the most part, like, I think I read somewhere where I don't know if the role had interested her anymore, and she just wanted to go on to other things. And she really kind of, Taika Waititi brought her back by like the promise of like, hey, we're gonna get you more involved. I read
Well,
somewhere.
yeah, you're gonna want to be. I get to be Thor. I'm not just the girlfriend.
She's like,
You know what I'm saying?
what's
It's
the
like,
pay?
I'm gonna be
What's
Thor.
Is the pay? Do I get Thor pay?
Oh yeah. What's the merchandising money looking like?
So I'm glad to like see her back. She's gonna have a bigger role in this. Christian Bale, like I said, was interested. Same reason. Like it feels like Taika Waititi is just like a magnet for like talent. Like he seems like he is a fun guy. So I think people want to like work with him. So I did read. So my only comment about Gore is I like how in the comic he is like not only a psychological threat, like he is vicious, he is murderous, he's like a fucking psychopath. He's got his reasons, and you kind of have some sort of empathy for him. But there's also like that physical threat level to him too. Like Esad Ribic doesn't know how to draw a puny person. Like all of his characters like have some sort of physique, and that's what I'm saying about the whole like Renaissance art period and all that. So it shows in like his villains, right? Like Gore is a physical threat. Like he's like lean but very strong. He's got muscles and like he's got a build. Like he's a physical threat.
He's
Thor.
ripped. Look at all those muscles. Those
Christian
abs.
Bale looks like he could, as Gore, at least in the trailers, looks like he should be worshiping like a sandwich god or something to get like some calories or something. But it turns out, I guess he's not as muscular as he could be because Christian Bale was just coming off a different movie where the role didn't require him to. It actually required him to be a little more lean. So like they were like, okay, let's just keep it that way.
It was like when he did Batman after doing The Machinist, where he was like almost skeletal. Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they're not going to give me like that physicality, accuracy with the comic book. I'm hoping they really do something unique and cool with like the Necro Sword and like his power set. I hope they really get creative and interesting, much like the comic book did with like his power set. Ashley, what do you think about Christian Bale as Gore and the first look at Natalie Portman as Mighty Thor? Any thoughts?
I mean, I think he looks creepy. I think it works. I read something that they couldn't make him look too much like Voldemort just because they didn't want to risk getting in trouble. So we'll see how it turns out. I just think it's funny that he's like it's a Marvel role, and he didn't get to like put everything he had into it. They were just like, you're famous enough, you're a good enough actor, you're fine, you don't need to like bulk up.
Yeah.
But he's an amazing actor, so he's gonna do
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
For sure. It sounded like based off this article I read that they actually cut a lot of his parts out, like because he was like too creepy, like he was too like they were like, hey, look, this is a PG-13 movie, we want this to be. Even Taika Waititi was like, we wanted this like. I wanted this to be family friendly. Like my kids love this, so there was a lot of like very edgy scenes that they decided to cut because it was like too much. And I think one in particular that caught my attention was Christian Bale was talking about a really good scene he had with Peter Dinklage and Jeff Goldblum. Peter Dinklage, who plays I think the like Asgardian weaponsmith or blacksmith,
the giant.
Yeah, and then you've got Jeff Goldblum who plays the Grandmaster. So Christian Bale was saying that they had a really good scene together that probably won't be on the movie because they had to cut it. So it makes me think like how much did they leave on the cutting floor, and if this is going to be a little like if they leaned in too much on the PG-13. I mean, I won't know until I see the movie, but now I'm really interested in what they cut out. So that's what I'll say. All right, let's go and wrap up this first segment, all this Thor talk. It sounds like the thunder and rain has subsided, so that means we are good to move on to our next topic and subject. But before we do that, let's go and give some recommendations for reading material going forward. If someone takes our recommendation, reads a God Butcher, and they want to know where else to go for more awesome Thor stories or similar stories, where should they go? Ed, lead us.
Ooh, Thor stories. I don't know if I can. Well, it's tangentially related to Thor,
Yeah.
but Daniel Warren Johnson's Beta Ray Bill miniseries last year.
Awesome.
Fantastic. It's awesome.
And a heartstring. I mean, it pulls at your heartstring
It
too,
is,
dude.
yeah.
Like, it's sad.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't know if I like handsome Beta Ray Bill.
No.
I don't want to spoil it.
Give me
But,
horse face. Get horse
I
face
want
all
horse
day.
face. The horse face is awesome.
Yeah.
But that is, if you like his work, if you like Dead Earth, like I said, he's hit back to back like home runs the last 2 years, and I think his Do a Power Bomb series is going to be another favorite of mine this year.
And I like how you 6 degree to Kevin Bacon that to
Yeah.
work wrestling into the Thor recommendation. That's solid.
There's wrestling moves in there. Beta
That's
Ray
solid.
Bill's doing wrestling moves.
No, solid recommendation.
And I guess the Walt Simonson run of Thor,
Classics.
the classic stuff. But yeah, I'm not a huge Thor guy, so those are the stuff I'd recommend.
You made it work, Ed. Ashley, what about you? Where are you pointing people towards?
Pretty much. I know there's a lot of it, but just Jason Aaron. So like this, and then go on to God Bomb. Even like the original Sin stuff that he did, I liked. And I hate crossovers for the most part. And then into like the Jane Foster stuff, like it's all just so good.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say, if you're going to read God Butcher, you might as well read the rest of it. Read God Bomb.
Yeah,
I
God
think-
Bomb's fun.
Yeah, I think as a whole, the I don't know, what do you want to call it? The God Saga
I
is
think
going to
they
be.
call it the God Butcher Saga.
Oh,
those two
God Butcher
stories.
Saga.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. So the God Butcher Saga as a whole is what you need to read. I'll go ahead and recommend too, if you have the Marvel Unlimited app, consider, and you want to reread the God Butcher Saga, check it out as the Infinity comic version. That's how I read it this time. I didn't read it the traditional comic format, left to right and all that. The Marvel Universe app has started re-releasing some comic books, usually ones that coincide with the movie. So like Moon Knight had an Infinity comic version. This Thor comic was an Infinity comic version, and it basically means they took the normal, comic format, square panels, left to right pages, or full pages, and reformatted it for a vertical scrolling reading experience. So
Oh,
much like the
cool.
comics you see on like webtoons. So you're just like, it's like a infinity, right? You're just scrolling the whole time, and it's no page breaks. It's like a very clean experience. And they actually like put some effort into it. They rearranged like the exposition bubbles, the word bubbles like accordingly, and they make sure the art like fits in full. And it's a fun experience. At first,
That's
like
cool.
you kind of got to get used to it because you're so used to reading things left to right, panel to panel, that you're reading one continuous like giant long panel essentially. But it definitely highlights the art in a different way. So that's what I'll recommend. With that being said, I think we've said everything there needs to be said about this comic and how great Thor the God Butcher series is. Hopefully the movie captures even like an ounce of the epicness of the comic book. We'll see, all right? But I invite you and the rest of the Shortbox Nation to check it out for yourselves. I think you can buy the trade, like Ed said, you can buy the trade that's got everything on Amazon. You can read it on Marvel Unlimited. It's probably, you can even check it out for free on any of the library apps like Hoopla and whatnot. But we've talked enough about this comic book from 2013, a shining beacon of comic books from 2013 at that. It's now time to move into our next segment where we talk about some new comic books coming out next month. It's time to grab a fistful of comics. Oh. Let me run that one back again.
You can either have a mouthful of teeth or a fistful of comics.
Even when Cesar's not here, he's here in space. Even when he's not here, he's still here, all right? Fistful of Comics is the part of the show dedicated to all you Wednesday warriors who loyally frequent your local comic shops every week, as well as newbies looking for a little help and direction on how to spend your hard-earned cash on only the best new titles. This segment is brought to you by Ben Kingsbury, owner of Gotham City Limit, Jacksonville's premier comic shop for Jacksonville's premier shop for comics, toys, collectibles, and more. Now, if you're new to the show, every week, Ben curates a list of top 3 new comics coming out next month that should be worthy of your time, attention, and moolah. Basically, he does all of the hard work of flipping through pages of previews and picking out interesting and rad comic choices so you don't have to. So let's go ahead and cue up the music and see what he's picked out for us today. Kicking off the list is the first issue of a brand new 5-issue miniseries from Image Comics. It's called Golden Rage. It's like Battle Royale meets the Golden Girls.
What?
Yeah, let me say that again. Golden Rage, coming out from Image Comics. The solicitation itself reads, it's like Battle Royale meets the Golden Girls, which immediately piqued my interest. I was excited to see this list, see this on Ben's list. So I want, you know what? Let's just take it to him and see what he's got to say about this directly. All right. That was a second.
This FOC pick, Image Comics presents Golden Rage #1. It's a little home for me. I spent the majority of my childhood with my favorite woman on the planet, my grandmother, watching a number of Golden Girls episodes, and this is billed as Battle Royale meets Golden Girls. Older women deemed useless to society, left on an island for their golden years of making friends, baking dessert, and fighting to the death. Image Comics Golden Rage #1. Yes, please.
I told you. Battle Royale meets Golden Girls of all things.
Weird.
All right. Golden Rage is being written by Chrissy Williams, who's the editor of Die, as well as The Wicked and Divine, and artist Lauren Knight of Buffy the Vampire fame. The first issue arrives in shops August 3rd. This next pick is a new comic book series by AWA, Artists, Writers, and Artisans Incorporated. It's called Sacrament. It's written by Peter Milligan with art by Marvello Fruzen. And it's continuing, Marvello Fruzen, and continuing on with the whole X meets Y pitches. The solicitation for this one reads, The Exorcist meets Alien in this sci-fi horror story. I feel like now they're just throwing anything at the wall.
They just have a list of things and they throw darts blindfolded.
Yeah. But I really like the way that Ben sells it, so let's go to him. Oh, no.
Jeez.
That thunder is so fucking
It's
loud.
so bad. I'm so scared right now.
Are you sure it's not flooding over there?
Yeah.
I haven't looked
Here we go,
outside.
here we go.
And another one. AWA Studios is back with a brand new #1, Sacrament #1. The story goes a little something like this. Humanity has left Earth. However, no matter where you go, you can't outrun your past. Exorcist meets Alien, right up my alley. The real reason this is one of my picks of the week, Peter Milligan, the writer. And if you aren't familiar with Peter Milligan, do yourself a favor and use that I Know Everything phone you're listening to this podcast on right now and look up some of his work, including Batman, Dark Knight, Dark City. You're welcome.
Ben has officially become a dad at this point. Pick up your everything phone. He's basically said this.
You spend all day on the phone anyhow.
Sacrament #1 also arrives in shops August 3rd. And last but not least, the third item on this list is also from Image Comics, and it's kind of rare to see multiple titles from the same publisher on Ben's list, so this has got to be good in some capacity, right? Because it's one of the newest books, part of the whole Radiant Black connected universe. It's called The Dead Lucky. I'm gonna let Ben take it away. Or take it away, Ben. All right, here we go. What up, Sandor? I hear you.
Yeah, he's freaking out.
All right. Here it is.
2 Image Comics and 3 picks? Well, that's right. Dead Lucky #1 is here, and there's 3 reasons this newest book from the Massive Verse is one of my picks of the week. Number 1, a brand new debut writer, Melissa Flores. Your time to shine. Let's see what you got. Number 2, it's from the Radiant Black artists. Radiant Black, Radiant Red, Rogue Sun, Supermassive. The Massive Verse is here. You should be reading it. It's fantastic. And number 3, literally how I feel every day to be able to live, breathe, and sell this pop culture goodness. Dead Lucky #1, Image Comics. Remember, take it to the limit.
I love that. Dead Lucky #1 hits shops August 3rd, which is shaping up to be a solid new comic book day to look forward to. I forgot who the writer for this one is. I think it was Melissa something, but sounds like Melissa, you better not drop the ball because Ben is after you. All right, he's on you. All right. All right, Ashley, Ed. Out of the 3 options Ben has presented us, which one is worthy of making it on your pull list?
Golden Rage.
Yeah, I'm going to second that.
I think it's a unanimous decision. I mean, come on. That is one of the best XY pitches I've ever heard.
Outrageous. Yeah.
And not only that, but Ben's reasoning was awesome. Made me think about my grandma. If my grandma went to like bingo to go fight a bunch of other old
fight
people.
to the death.
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass. All right. That is the list for this week, Shortbox Nation. If any of those pique your interest, you know what to do. Put them on your pull list or ask your local comic shop to order one for you. Big shout out to Ben from Gotham City Limit Shop for putting those on our radar and for always steering us in the right direction. Remember, even if you don't live in Jacksonville, you can still take it to the limit, as Ben would say, by visiting their online store, which is linked in this episode's show notes, or shopping their community marketplace on the Whatnot app. Next up, we're going to read some emails sent to us by listeners, as well as announce a lucky winner who's getting some comics mailed to them, all right? As well as get you hip to our top entertainment picks for the week. But first, we're going to go on a quick music break. The man in large part responsible for a lot of the dope music here on this show, Becca the Marvelous, dropped a new project called Black Gods on all streaming platforms. And we're going to show some support for our guy and play a song off the album. It's called Sky Blue, while we refill our drinks, while Ashley makes sure that her house is not flooding, and while we pay some homage to King Thor, so that way we can record a clean audio show. Anyways, get ready for our upcoming segments. But first, some music. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. Yo, once again, the song you just heard is titled Sky Blue by Mecca the Marvelous off his new album, Black Gods, which is available on Apple Music and Spotify and wherever else you listen or buy music. Show our guy some love, all right? Run those numbers up for him. I think he just hit like 10,000 streams and listeners on Spotify. So let's keep the momentum going, right? He does all this great music for us. Why not show some support? But moving on, 4 scores in 2 episodes ago, when we talked about the gripping war comic Sarah from TKO Studios, we announced a giveaway, all right? And it was for, I'm going to hold this up to the camera for our video viewers. It was for this Dark Crisis #1 Gotham City Limit variant, drawn by Tyler Kirkham, of course. I feel like, he is on a permanent retention at Gotham. But it is the newest DC blockbuster of the summer, and all we asked was that listeners like yourself write in and tell us about your favorite war comic or recommend to us your favorite autobiographical nonfiction comic book. And we were going to pick one winner to get this exclusive variant, ship and handling taken care of by yours truly. We got 3 submissions, all right? We got 3 great emails to read today, so I'm going to get to these right now. The first one is from Robert Baldwin. He writes, or his email is titled, The Night Witches. And he writes, Yo, Shortbox. Just got done with your spotlight on Sarah and Garth Ennis, who is easily one on Sarah, and Garth Ennis, who is easily one of the best writers for historical war fiction. His story on Sarah and her team of Russian snipers is amazing, as is The Lion and the Eagle, which is about a British Special Forces team called the Chindits and the guerrilla-style operations in Burma. But his work on battlefields, where one of my, but his work on battlefields is one of my favorite stories. Wait, his work on battlefields where one of my favorite stories. Okay, I got it. Ooh, that was loud. Okay. Sorry, let me do that again. Okay. But his work on battlefields is where one of my favorite stories comes from. Imagine you are in your Russian U-2 biplane made from just wood and canvas, flying in the dead of night towards your bombing run on the Germans. As you come upon your target, you begin to idle the engine of the plane and basically glide over the target because the sound of your engine, nicknamed coffee grinder by the Germans, would give you away and mean death and failure of the mission. This is the story of Anna Kharkova in the 588th Night Bomber Regiment called the Night Witches. The Night Witches is a 3-issue mini from Dynamite Entertainment, which was published in 2008. It tells the story of Anna and the all-female bomber squadron and their daring bombing runs on the Germans. It is just another reason that when I hear that Garth Ennis is putting out another war story, that I immediately put it on my pull list. And if they told these stories in school, I would have liked history a whole lot more. I feel you on that one. Thanks again for another great show, and keep up the great content. Thank you so much, Robert Baldwin. Has anyone, as either of you ever read this Night Witches? Familiar with it?
Nope.
Sounds pretty badass.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Sounds pretty badass. Ashley, would you ever, like, if you were teleported back to, like, World War II and given the opportunity to either be a Russian sniper or be part of this Russian bombing squadron or regiment, which one would you pick? All-female crew, too. I mean, you know, you're there with, like, the whole squad, all-female squad.
I would probably rather pilot the plane, honestly.
All right, but it sounds like you're idling your engine and you're just kind of gliding.
Yeah,
that's what
they both sound pretty bad, honestly.
Fair enough. I think, you know what? That's a good point. That's a very good point, because Sarah was just a very depressing bunch. I don't know if I'd want to be around them for the whole time. So, yeah, flying through the air like a bird, like a suicidal bird, maybe. Crazy-ass bird would be pretty cool. All right. Our next email comes from Andy Callahan, and this one is titled, he just titled it Sarah. He writes, I was so stoked when I saw that y'all were covering Sarah. I'm a big Garth Ennis fan and huge fan of his war books. I started with the Dynamite series named Battlefields that I used to get from Dragon's Tail. Hey, okay, some old school Jack's comic shops. All right. Andy's been around.
Wow.
He continues, that title included a fantastic story called The Night Witches. Oh, wow.
Oh,
pretty cool. About female Russian pilots in World War II. Garth Ennis is an amazing storyteller and is remarkable in that he's the only creator who constantly writes historically well-researched World War II stories. I'm currently reading The Lion and the Eagle, created by Ennis and P.J. Holden. It's a World War II miniseries published by Aftershock in the oversized prestige format. Props to TKO Studios. When I heard the Shortbox interview / champion that TKO was about, I decided it was something I needed to support. The comic book chain store where I shopped in Jacksonville wouldn't carry TKO books, so I decided to start shopping at Gotham City Limit. Ooh. Hey, there we go. Andy decided to take it to he took it to the limit, Ben. He took it to the limit.
Whoa.
Andy signs off. Keep up the great work, Andy from Jack's Beach. Andy, I hope we're recording this on a Sunday, so I hope that your house is not flooded like Ashley's seems to be getting at this point. All right, hopefully you're safe and all that. But awesome recommendation. So I see some similarities to the previous email. They both brought up Battlefields. They both brought up The Lion and the Eagle. So probably might have to check that out. And I want to make a correction too, because when we did our Sarah episode, I think we credited Adam for bringing TKO into on our radar. But that was not the case, because we recorded that well after Adam left the show, right? And then I think I took a little bit of credit because I was like, it got on my radar. I brought it up. But the honest answer is that our mutual friend, Austin Wade Ellis, was the one that brought up TKO Studios, because he came on the show. I had him as a guest co-host for a short box story segment, and he brought up like TKO Studios, what they were doing, what made them so different, because it was like that initial press release about TKO Studios. So shout outs to Austin, all right? And of course, this would not be an episode of the Short Box or even a email segment if we didn't hear from our guy, T-Mix, a.k.a. the unofficial 19th member of the Short Box at that. All right. T-Mix wrote in with an email titled, I am Blue Beetle. And he writes, yo, what up, Short Box? But I would have hit Superboy with a no mames pendejo first. Interesting. Last episode, I was sad when Badr said there were no emails because I had sent one that must have ended up in the Phantom Zone. But it was an angry sea-like rant about Obi-Wan, and I'm glad it disappeared. I just watched the finale this week, and overall, I was happy how it ended. It had some bad spots, but enough good to be happy. Kind of like watching Phantom Menace as an adult, LOL. But on a real positive Star Wars note, I am looking forward to Warren hyping up Andor after that good-looking trailer, and Cesar to somehow shit on it. It's got me interested for sure, but not in Andor, just to watch Narcos Mexico. As for the prompt, I haven't read very many nonfiction comics, but one that stands out is Mouse, right? As I say, Mouse.
Yeah.
I read it the first time during high school for history class, and it stuck out ever since. Mouse is the oral history of a Holocaust survivor and how that affected the relationship between the author and his father. It is such a tragic but necessary story. Cheers, T-Mix. No, I agree with him.
Yep.
A Mouse is a
recently banned book.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
for some bullshit. Yeah,
some bullshit. Yeah, it's excellent. It's won
It's
the
great.
Pulitzer Award.
Yeah,
comic book.
And when you think about like when you need to show someone where comics can take it and like why it's important, for why it's an important medium, I think that is like one of those titles that you immediately like think of or go to.
Yeah, and it's wild just because it's been a while since I read it, but it's just an insane account of how his dad survived being in the prison camps. It's a crazy story,
and told via a very interesting and almost like fun, which is not the phrase he used for that story at all, but like the fact that he portrays them as like anamorphic mouses. You know, it's kind of misleading at first. You're like, oh, mouses? Huh, interesting. This should be fun.
Yeah,
not exactly.
It takes the
edge off a little bit. I do agree. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we've got our email from Robert Baldwin. We had our email from Andy Callahan, and of course, I got T-Mix. We can only pick one winner. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna personally say, how do you guys feel about Robert Baldwin winning this one, considering that he emailed first and he brought up both titles that ended up also in Andy Callahan's email. And he kind of like sold me on checking out this Night Witches comic book. So you guys fine with that?
Works for me.
All right. and he predicted Ashley's like a career in another life. It's a Russian bomber. So Andy, I'm not Andy. Robert, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a round of applause. Oh. Thank you so much for writing in. Thanks so much for that recommendation. I'm gonna look for Night Witches for sure. Mm-hmm. And I'll go ahead and send this sweet Dark Crisis #1 to you in the mail later this week. Now, with that being said, that is all the emails we got. So I'm going to announce another giveaway right now. I mentioned it briefly at the top of this episode, but we've got, like I said, these Mighty Thor mini figurines to give away, 3D printed by our guy Kyle Schmezik of Triple D Mystic. You can find them on Etsy as well as on Instagram. They printed us 25 of these awesome Mighty Thor, Jane Foster Mighty Thor figurines. If you want to test your luck and try to win one of these before they sell out, all you got to do is write us a short email and tell us your favorite Thor comic and or moment from any of the Thor movies. So either tell us about your favorite Thor comic or your favorite moment, scene, whatever that takes place in the movies. We'll do a giveaway here on the panel later this month. So get your email sent in ASAP, or just avoid the whole luck thing and buy one from our store. Like I said, they're limited to 25 figurines. They probably won't last long, especially at the price point that we got them. They're going to be affordable. So if you want one, this will be a short box exclusive, and I think we're going to do a lot more of these too, a lot more of these figurines. They're really rad. They turned out great. So send in your emails and submissions to the shortboxjacks@gmail.com, or just click the link in the episode show notes. We got a direct link to the email that way. While you do that, we're going to move on to our next segment and tell you about the best entertainment options we've personally enjoyed this week. It's time for Champion Season.
It's time for Champion Season.
Champions season is the part of the show where we highlight other worthwhile entertainment like movies, TV series, books, video games, and anything else we'd personally recommend to our friends like you and the rest of the Shortbox Nation. Who's going to take over first? Ashley, because you've got all that thunder and I don't want to lose you. It's a risk at any minute we could lose you. You could lose your internet. How about you go ahead and kick us off first? What are you going to champion today?
Yeah, so I've just got two things. HeroesCon was so much fun this year. I was only in Charlotte for I think it was 24 hours. I got there at noon on Saturday and left at noon on Sunday. But I had so much fun. And I went to a really great Walt Simonson. I think it was Ron Friends that was the other guy on it. And that panel was awesome. Just hearing two old guys just talk about Thor and their involvement in Thor. Walt Simonson, of course, he said that for him, the only people that have ever picked up the hammer are Thor and Beta Ray Bill. So he didn't get too into it, but...
oh, never mind.
He had some. So he was throwing some subliminal shade.
Not my
Jane
Thor.
Foster?
Hashtag not my Thor.
Okay.
But he was also talking, and it was really cool. He was talking about how at Marvel, it's kind of it's one big sandbox, and they give you your corner, and you build your sandcastle, knowing that the next guy's going to come in and knock it down. So when he said, I was like, that is really cool. So he's like, every time I'm writing something, he's like, I just remember that's how it is. So it was a really good panel. And then
that's a really good takeaway.
Yeah. So and then I just walked around and bought some stuff and left.
Didn't he write? Is he the one who wrote the Frog Thor?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote and drew too.
A lot.
Yeah.
He was a bad. His line, I know. His line, because he was there with his wife, Louise Simonson, who also, artist, and I think she also did inking too, right? On a lot of his work.
So.
But their line was always packed. People, I don't know how often they do convention appearances, but I have a feeling people were because there was a lot of people carrying short boxes around and had bundles of comics to sign. Because his Thor run went on for a lot of issues. It was a very long running series. So it's cool to see their fans come out and show up and show some love.
Mm-hmm. It was really the guy sitting next to me. It was like a life-size Stormbreaker. He lugged it in and threw it on the chair next to me, and the whole row of chairs shook. It was that heavy. He was just I stood in line for an hour and a half trying to get him to sign this.
Was he successful?
So he hadn't gotten it signed. He was trying to get him to sign it after the panel, which is kind of cheating, but I was just good luck, man.
I've definitely done that plenty of times.
Oh, you're that guy.
You gotta get it. You can't look. Ben sent me to HeroesCon with two heavy hardcover Decorum, because apparently Ben is a huge Jonathan Hickman fan. So he had these two hardcover Decorum books, and he was like, dude, if you get these signed by Hickman, that would be amazing. And it's Ben, right? He's been a supporter of the show for years. I had to do it. But I also knew that Hickman's line was going to be insane, and those books are guaranteed. I'll probably have back issues when I turn 50, or hell, I'm gonna have back issues when I turn 35 next year. But right after I did my panel with Hickman, I immediately was like, hey, Hickman, can you please sign these real quick? I just knew I had to get it now. And
to be fair, he ran the panel, so I don't think that's
damn
cheating.
right. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Ed. But I have definitely cheated in the past when I didn't run panels. Actually, out of all of the things that you've purchased at HeroesCon, because I know when I talked to you on Saturday, your plan for Sunday was you were I'm just going to walk around and blow money.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, baller, damn. What were some of the best things that you purchased? What are some of the highlight comics or merch or whatever it is that you bought?
So I walked around and I tried to buy little stickers and things from the independent artists. Because just having a table at HeroesCon as an independent artist is rough, because there's just so many Marvel, DC artists there, Image artists. It's just kind of hard to make money there. So I tried to help them out. I got a lot of cute stickers, but I did buy the Mike Allred, Laura Allred, Madman, huge oversized collection. It was a hardcover, and I bought that last because it was super heavy. But that was
Smart.
my
That's a pro.
my big like kind of trophy from the convention. So, and it's
That is
too
awesome.
big
Wow.
for my bookcase. I got to figure out where to put it.
Yeah, only a rookie buys, the 3 omnibuses that are whatever 3 for $50 very first.
Yeah.
It's like good luck. Actually, would you call me and Drew a loser if next year we brought like a baby carriage and put a short box in the baby carriage and just lug that bitch around?
Only if you
We saw a
pushed
few
it
dudes do
together.
We're co-parents. We're co-parenting. We saw a couple
That's
dudes
hilarious.
do that, and at first, immediate reaction was like, cornballs. And then we had to actually go walk around with our heavy-ass book bags
Yeah.
and like bags, and it was like, no, they're geniuses.
Yeah,
They're
they know what they're
savants.
doing. Yeah,
For
so that
sure,
was
for
fun.
sure.
And then
Next year-
Saturday night at the auction, I got to hang out with you guys and Blake and Josh, and it was fun.
Hell yeah. Big shout out to Blake and Josh, friends of the show. Awesome. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. And to anyone listening, if you missed out on HeroesCon this year, definitely make plans to go next year. They for the 40th anniversary, they killed it. I can't recommend it enough. I'm sure people are tired of me talking about it, posting about it, and all that. But awesome time. And if you haven't listened to last week's episode, which was audio from the Jonathan Hickman and Scotty Young panel from HeroesCon, cannot recommend it enough. Those guys were awesome to meet in person and hear talk about the industry. Ed, I'm going to go to you, man. What do you got to champion today?
I just got one. I finally caught up with the Boys Season 3 last weekend.
Nice.
And yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's incredible. The season is, like I said, they deviate a lot from the source material, so I have no idea what's going to happen. And they've totally changed, I won't spoil the ending, but the Soldier Boy, he's like a douchebag Captain America. Fantastic character.
Yeah, Jensen
love
Ackles
it.
is like killing that role. Like he's doing
Dude,
so
he's so good.
good.
He's so good.
Real quick, I seen
And-
an interview with him talking about coming on the show, and he was like, I only had a little bit of time, and I just worked out like a madman. I knew I had to get in shape. He was like, I just worked out really hard, almost drove myself crazy how hard I worked out. And he said when he got to his first day of shooting, I forgot. I think the guy that plays Homelander or someone, he's telling him how much he worked out, and the guy that plays Homelander was like, bro, why didn't you just ask him to add more muscles to the bodysuit? You didn't have to do
Yeah.
That's great.
Did you watch the last episode yet, Ashley?
Yeah,
Second?
I'm all caught up. It was so good.
Okay, dude, you think they're gonna? I don't want to spoil it. Do you think they're gonna team up now? You'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I love the
Oh,
twist that they're doing. I
boy.
love the way that they're changing it for the show because I did end up reading the comics.
It's so different.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
I actually think it's better. The show's better.
I can't wait to watch it.
But yeah, and speaking of Homelander, I think it's what's his name, Anthony Starr. I think that guy is incredible.
Yeah.
That guy is. He's like if I see him and he's blonde, I'm gonna freak out because it's one of those I think roles that I think people are just gonna associate him with Homelander. But luckily, he looks a lot different in real life.
Oh,
And
that's
then,
good.
yeah, they have Hero. If anyone who's read The Boys hasn't read this season, they do. Herogasm does occur. It's not on the same scale as the comics, but it's hilarious and gross. Lots of gore. It is a very fun series. Yeah, it's really good.
All right, done deal. Ed, you got anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So I got. I'm going to take over from here. I got 2. I want to share. One, Ashley, I think you'll enjoy my first one, and that's Barry season 3.
Yes.
I think you championed it on our Sarah episode, which reminded me oh shit, it's out, and I haven't even started it. I am now at the time of this recording, I am on episode 7. As soon as we get done, I'm gonna wrap up Barry. But oh my god, Ashley, it is so fucking good.
Yeah.
The quality hasn't dropped at all. I'm actually more pissed that it's only 30 minutes an episode, and I almost finished it all last night. I had to stop. I was like, look, just enjoy some tomorrow. It is so great. It is amazing. For anyone that is unfamiliar with Barry, it is a black comedy, crime drama thriller TV series created by Alec Berg and Bill Hader. Its first season 1 came out on HBO Max in 2018. Season 3 just came out this year after 4 long years of waiting, and it was worth, I think, every second of the wait. Bill Hader, Just a quick little premise recap. Bill Hader stars as Barry Berkman. He's a hitman from Cleveland who travels to L.A. to kill someone, but then he finds himself joining an acting class taught by Gene Cusano, but being played by Henry Winkler, who is amazing in this. He's like the curmudgeon grandpa that you've always wanted to have, you know? Like, he's great in it. Barry ends up also meeting, falling in love with an aspiring actress by the name of Sally Reed, who's played by Sarah Goldberg, who is absolutely killing it in the show as well. And then that kind of like forces him to question, like, you know, his life and his criminal associations and whatnot. He gets tied up into a bunch of, like, you know, just fucked up contract kills and, you know, having to balance acting and really kind of questioning where he wants to go with his life. I say all of that to say that one of these standout characters in this show is my guy, NoHo Hank, played by Anthony Carrigan. I can't say enough about NoHo Hank. You just got to watch it. You just got to watch it. Yeah, Barry has been fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, actually, I almost, you'll know, I feel like me and Ed are both like, Ashley, you'll know this. I don't want to spoil it, but you'll know this. Ashley, you'll know this, but the beignet guy?
Oh,
the guy that
yeah.
runs the beignet shop? Who is basically like everyone's psychologist. That guy's funny as shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so.
Yeah, it was a really
Anyways, I highly recommend
season.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just a really good season, and I really like what they did with like Bill Hader, just from all the like the dumb funny movies I've seen him in. He's a good actor.
He's got this quiet sense of tension to him that is uncomfortable at times. And when he raises his voice, like I get scared. Like, there's so much tension in this show that they build, and then they just kind of cut it. You know, they kind of dilute it with a little bit of like surrealistic like humor, like just like episode 6 might be my favorite one, where they're doing that dirt bike chase scene. That dirt bike chase scene is one of the best chase scenes I've ever seen, and it is quiet like 80% of the chase scene. Like, just how they let like certain moments and scenes breathe is awesome. Like, I feel like none of it is heavy handed, and they like cut the fat a lot, and they're just like really just focusing on really tight storytelling and solid acting. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a new show. You can catch up with Barry in a weekend, but season 3 has been great, and I'm glad to hear that they picked up season 4. They're picking up for a season 4 next year or whenever they have it. So that's one of them. And then I'll go ahead and champion a video game as well. It's called TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Classic beat 'em up game. It's developed by Tribute Games, who made the TMNT Game Boy Advance game back in the day. And then they also made a Scott Pilgrim side-scroller game from 2010.
Yeah, awesome.
I forgot all about that game.
Yeah.
So the same company that made this new TMNT Shredder's Revenge game. It's available on PS4, Switch, Xbox, I think basically every platform. But it's based on the TMNT animated series from the 80s. It plays very similar to all the Konami Turtles games, like Turtles in Time. And the best part is that the Turtle voice actors from the original 1987 animated series return to reprise their roles, which is just an awesome sense of nostalgia. You got music from our guy Mega Ran, as well as Ghostface Killer and Raekwon hop on the soundtrack for this game. The game is short. It looks great because it's based on the animated series. So, I mean, of course, it looks awesome, but updated graphics. It is super easy to play. You can pick it up like at any point and just play. You don't need to like invest in level ups and upgrading. It's just
microtransactions.
None of that bullshit, dude. None of that. Me and Blythe beat it in a combined total of like 2 days.
Oh, who'd you play?
Come on, man. I played as Leo. She played as Raphael. So I played as Leo. She played as Raphael. And then we unlocked Casey Jones, and then we did another round because we kind of were like, it was kind of easy. Let's just bump up the difficulty to maximum and just play with different characters. So then I started playing as Splinter, Casey Jones. I started playing as Mikey. She's been playing as April O'Neil on the second run through, and April O'Neil is so badass. She is awesome. So I highly recommend it. It's only, I think it was cheaper than $30. It was not more than $30, but it is worth the money just to like, if you want to have like a party game, next time you have like a group of people over the house and you just want to have like a joint activity, highly recommend playing this game. TMNT Shredder's Revenge. Awesome. And that's what I got for Champion Season. Shortbox Nation, if you got a killer champion that we should check out, man, share it with us, please. All right. Or tell us if you try out any of the recommendations that we shared today. I know we gave a lot at you, but if there's one that stuck out and you decided to give it a shot, let us know, all right? We'd love for you to join in on the conversation. Ashley, it sounds like the thunder has subsided
Yeah.
at your place. That fucking a geostorm has subsided at your house. And I think we can consider this episode a wrap. But before we officially sign and seal it and close it out, would you mind doing us the honors like you've been doing these last couple episodes and give us some parting words, right? Give us your words of wisdom. What should people leave this episode with?
So, this episode was really all about God Butcher, really heavy on Gore, who is a very creepy, violent, tortured villain, kind of different from the last movie's Thor villain. So we're going to kind of see how it does in the hands of, Taika Waititi, who somehow made a family-friendly World War II movie with Jojo Rabbit. So I'm really excited to see what he does with Gore in this new movie.
Same. Has everyone and well said, Ashley. Has everyone bought their tickets for Thor: Love and Thunder yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I have had no luck in securing a private watch party.
Oh.
I don't know if they continued the watch parties or stopped. I have no idea. But I'm hoping I get something going in time. But just in case, I went ahead and bought tickets for
We
Thursday
should get our
night,
tickets.
Maybe they don't do the opening.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you were saying.
That was my way of saying, guys.
No premiere.
Yeah, that was my way of saying.
So how are those tickets looking, guys? What?
That was my way of
wondering.
saying, guys.
You're on your own, bitches.
Yeah. Don't wait on
Yeah,
me.
Sandor.
all right?
Tell him.
Dude, Sandor is pissed.
Yeah, the dogs are angry right now.
Maybe
Yeah,
it's not an opening weekend. You can't do it opening weekend type of thing.
Dude, everything is grayed out. So I don't know what's going on. But
crazy.
I will let you know if something happens. But regardless, get your tickets.
Go ahead and get your tickets.
And maybe yeah, get your tickets. I'm sorry. It's not
On
that
your
I
own.
dropped the ball on purpose. Anyways, listeners, if you watch Thor in time, and if you've watched Thor, let us know what you think about that. All right, I'd love to get some opinions. We might do a Thor movie review episode. We'll see how that works out. But anyways, there you have it, Shortbox Nation. Thank you for hanging out with us this week. But it's time to close out the show.